So, I mean, I'm looking at all the bottles here. How many, do you even know how much?
Lots. we have, I'd say like close to 1,000.
Wow. Welcome to another episode of The Collective Perspective. Today I'm here with Tommy. We're going to talk about some fine and rare spirits, some barrels, and just the industry in general. Tommy, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. First of all, thanks for coming in.
Of course.
My name is Tommy. I'm the owner of this establishment, and I also own the Flatiron Room on 26th Street. Owner, operator, love whiskey, love the industry, and all the perks that come with it, this is one of them. You know, meeting good people and
I like that.
Talking story.
So tell us, I mean, kind of what's the inspiration behind a venue with a lot of fine and rare spirits? I mean, there's a lot of people that are doing brandy libraries and tequila libraries and rye bars and mezcal bars. You're kind of doing everything.
The kind of inspiration from fine and rare came directly from the Flatiron Room. Like the Flatiron Room, I know you know it, been around for a long time, had a lot of success with it. We've been there for, hard to believe, but going on 8 years. And over that time, we knew we had a loyal following, and we got to a point where we had more demand than we did supply. So if we're going to send people to another location, the other location should be ours.
Right.
So that's where we, I said, let's open up kind of the Flatiron Room too, and use kind of the Flatiron Room as a beta test. If we had it to do over again, what would we do different? And that's kind of what spawned this place. The first thing that I wanted to do was pick up on the bottle key. Behind us here, you can see some walls of bottles. That's where we got from the Flatiron Room, which is our bottle key program. We knew it was very popular. We wanted to kind of capitalize on what we kind of established our systems on, and we opened it up here. Second thing is I wanted to diversify my portfolio outside of primarily whiskey. That was a big thing, and that was kind of a little bit self-serving because I wanted to. I know a decent amount about whiskey, but I was like, I don't know anything about tequila, so why don't we just start bringing in a bunch of tequila and and Armagnac and cognac and rum. I thought that would be fun. The Flatiron Room is so whiskey focused, so I was like, let's just diversify.
So, I mean, I'm looking at all the bottles here. How many, do you even know how much?
Lots. we have, I'd say like close to 1,000.
Wow. So how do you choose one over the other?
Right.
What's your process?
Right. To be totally frank with you, it starts with the relationship.
Okay.
I mean, unless there's something out there that I've been at a distillery or I've tried it at a bar and I come back here and I'm like, it's not on our shelves, and just find out who's carrying it and order it. So that's one way. That's the easy way. It's based on me finding something that I want to carry. But there's a lot of product out there, and I'm only one guy. So a lot of times people will come in and they'll say, hey, I've got this really great product, and it could be great, but it's really for me to make time to meet with them. It's about a relationship. Sometimes those relationships take some time to build.
I mean, you've got over 1,000 bottles, which means you're working with a lot of distributors, a lot of suppliers, a lot of brand ambassadors. What are you looking for? I mean, you mentioned relationships. I mean, you're in relationship with these people. So what are you looking for specifically from them? What resonates well with you?
One, they have to have a good product. I mean, there's no, if the product's no good, I've done favors for people, brought in things, like some of the people that have worked for me have gone on to work at different distilleries or be brand ambassadors. So I'm always loyal to them, and by default, we're probably going to carry your product if you've worked for me at some point, because that's the way life goes. I like to work with good people. I mean, it sounds kind of trite, but if you're a jerk, I don't care how good your product is. I probably don't want to carry it. 3, I like seeing faces. I like if we're going to carry your product. If you're a brand ambassador, make sure my bartenders and my servers know your name. People come in and we don't know who they are, and they're like, hey, listen, would really like to be on your cocktail menu. Like, get in line, and first, shake my hand and tell me your name. And like I said, it's good it's good that my team knows who you are.
I know you've been traveling a lot, and I know you've bought some personal selection barrels. Some whiskey, some tequila. Talk me through that process. I mean, do you just wake up in January and be like, hey, I'm going to buy a Scotch barrel dish?
So thirsty. So it's real simple. We don't do it for the booze. We really don't. We do it for the experience. We can spend a boatload of money designing a beautiful place and spend even more money bringing in a crazy amount of booze, but it comes down to the people that are representing that. And for me, staff retention is paramount, and with that goes knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So we want to have a very well-educated, loyal team. So what I look for when purchasing a barrel is what kind of experience are we going to get when we purchase that barrel?
Right.
Because we can buy, a ton of cases anytime we need them, but to commit to hundreds of bottles of something, it's not about that. It's about taking the team down there, flying them to Mexico, flying them to Kentucky, putting them up, and having them go through the barrel selection process. They come back, and even my bartenders and bar managers that are Scottish, they'll come back and they'll be like, "Oh God, I love bourbon," a word that a phrase I never thought I'd hear them say. But it's all about that experience and going down there and smelling the smells of a distillery, and popping that bung on a barrel and drawing out the liquid, tasting it, and being like, you see it in their eyes, and they come back, and then they just kind of spread the gospel to the rest of the team.
Is there other specific details that really resonate with you? You're like, I love that this happened. That brands are doing that. You're like, this was really cool, or that was super cool.
I think what I like is when they immerse us in the whole experience. Like we recently just did a couple barrels of Eagle Rare from Buffalo Trace, and we had Famous Freddie walked us through the whole distillery and talked about wood and how grain direction works, and the maturation, the distillation, the fermentation, all this stuff. And my team is they're not just they're not in a classroom with a projector clicking through slides, but they're like dip your finger in there, taste that that wort. Getting them involved in it becomes much more tangible, and then they come back and then they relay that, or an abbreviated version of that story to customers. Customers walk away with like a little bit more knowledge, and then they enjoy that bottle of, or that dram of Eagle Rare a little bit more.
When you're being pitched on some personal selection programs, are there red flags that pop up? Is there things where you're just like, that seems...
Well, some of the brands will do this as a convenience, and they'll say, you don't even have to come to the distillery. We'll send you little vials, and you can. And I'm like, dude, that's no, that's not fun.
That's the point.
Yeah. That's, again, they're doing that not to be anything other than convenient. They think, I know you're busy, so you don't have to come down to Kentucky. I'm like, that's why we want to go. We did a barrel of Herradura from Brown Forman, and that was fun. I mean, going down there, and it was the same thing, They went. I had a buddy that helped organize that, and that was Kevin Vanegas. Just phenomenal. It was extremely immersive, and that's exactly what we want.
Shout out to Herradura and that team.
Yeah.
So I mean, I visited this place before it was even open. I don't know if you remember giving me the tour. It was dirt and sawdust. But you gave me this tour that lasted like an hour. There's so much attention to detail here. Tell me a little bit about that. Are you the architect? Where do you find all these items?
I'm an architect's worst nightmare, and a designer's horrible nightmare, because I have my background. I was a creative director in advertising. I'm that guy that has more than 2 cents to put in that everybody probably finds annoying, because I'm like, hey, how about this? And they're like, listen, man, we're the designers, you're the client. I'm like, yeah, I know, but how about this? I use the same design team to design this that I did the Flatiron Room, and I wanted to pick up from what I knew was working at the Flatiron Room. I think what resonated with people is it felt like it had been there forever. It felt like it had history. It felt like it was this kind of time capsule of the 1930s. When I came into this place and you saw it, there was nothing here. It was like there was a wall right here. That was a Japanese restaurant. This was one of those photocopy places that you'd come in and get photocopies, which is crazy. My design team had, they said, listen, the best way to replicate that nostalgia is to bring in nostalgic items. So heat exchangers from an old distillery, floorboards are like 125 years old. The old Teller windows from Grand Central. Wow. That big fireplace was, it was the entrance of a schoolhouse. I remember my design team sent that to me. They sent me a picture of this. It looked like a haunted, abandoned school that was boarded up. Like where the fireplace is, there was a set of double doors, and they were boarded up. The design team just sent me this kind of cryptic photo saying, what do you think? Like what, of a nightmare? And they said, no, the fireplace. And I was like, listen, I do not see it, but I'm going to trust you on it. And there's a lot of subtle details that I love what they did.
So you obviously own a couple of places. You've opened up a bunch of places. Any advice you can give to people?
It's tough. It's a tough industry. But it's if you get bit by that bug and you want to do it, I recommend following your passion. Life's short. Do it. My my words of advice are learn a little bit about everything. And what I mean by that is, just before you pick up the phone to call a plumber or before you call an electrician, make sure the plug is plugged into the socket. Because like so many times I've gotten calls from people saying, hey, we need to buy a new printer. It's not working. I'm like, you checked everything? Yep, checked everything. And you go in and like, it's not plugged in all the way. So learn a little bit about everything because you can get buried in costs of maintenance. Buy yourself a toolkit and learn how to do basic maintenance because it'll go a long way. Because your sound system will go down at some point, and it's usually going to happen on a Friday night. And your air conditioning is definitely going to break at some point, and it's usually going to happen on the hottest day of the year. Basic stuff will break, and that is a big factor. And most people think, well, your drinks have to be good and your food has to be good. Yes, they do, but that's not always what's going to keep people in your restaurant. In New York, it's extremely competitive. They expect you to have good food. They expect you to have good drinks. Hospitality has to be key. Your front of house has to be on point. Kind of went on a tangent there. But
it's good sound advice. I mean, I think a lot of people, especially young bartenders, are just like, oh, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be fun. I make the best cocktails in the world. We're gonna be successful. And then they get into work or business, and they don't see the, oh man, air conditioning. Who does this? Who fixes that?
Definitely, and it's a good thing. And I've been in the business now for quite a few years, and a lot of people come up to me. They're like, my husband's a great cook, and I love to bartend. I'm like, that's a good start. You need to have some kind of visibility. You have to have some kind of a marketing. Not that you have to spend major bucks on marketing, but have some kind of thought of how you're going to attract that customer. And nowadays, fortunately, with social media and the way things can go viral. I mean, if you have something unique, you have a good voice and a good channel to communicate with your relationships, then that goes a long way.
Talk about the state of the industry today. Is there any trends that you see?
I think it's exciting. There's a lot of new places popping up. In terms of trends, I think the ones that are really getting the attention are the ones that pay attention to detail. We're not as concerned with like the New York Times food critic coming in, and doing that. And that's used back in the day. That was, so-and-so is going to come in, they're going to give us a review.
You want it done.
Exactly. But now everybody's a critic. Somebody can go on and give a negative review on Yelp, or like a 1-star review on Yelp, and just completely destroy everything that you've worked on. They're not going to necessarily give you a 1-star review for the food or the drink. It could be it was too warm in your restaurant, or the music was too loud, so got to pay attention to the details. All the different touch points in hospitality, and those touch points start with someone calling to make a reservation. It's so far away from what a lot of people think is the experience of the restaurant, but the experience of the restaurant starts and ends much sooner and much later than people think.
Well, cool, man. I appreciate your time. Congratulations on all this. Super cool. And thank you, man. That's it. Another episode of The Collective Perspective. We'll see you guys next time.